Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Kicks and Cup podcast. This is another Liverpool video. I know we have been absent from the YouTube, from Instagram, from everywhere for almost a month now. And yes, like I said, some of it was because of the utter lack of joy from our football teams. Some of it was also because of the fact that it is for us in India a festive season. So we were all busy with the festivities and oh, I don't think I've mentioned it here, but me and Neil will be moving to a new city soon. It's in like, oh my God, in a week. And there's not going to be a lot happening. We are actually going to be recording an episode with everyone tonight. Yeah, hopefully you enjoy it first. And most probably it is going to be a while before we are back in full swing creating content the way we do. And yeah, so I'm here in this particular video. I'm going to, of course, talk a lot about Liverpool, my club. As you may well know, we lost to Brentford as well, 3-2. And yeah, Huh. I don't know where to start. Okay, I have been struggling. Not because of the results. Not at all. Um, do I think there are problems? Yes. Am I 100% happy with the performances? No, of course not. But it's the community that I had. You know, uh, man, these recent run of form has been like it has been an eye opener for me because I I built or like I kind of discovered all of this community and I started what do you say started engaging with people uh mostly during the last season, and last season was great. Last season was amazing. So I guess I didn't realize that the way football fans and the way the discourse of fans happens online is pretty much the same across clubs. And yeah, it is it is utterly baffling for me. um, the sheer amount of confidence that everybody has whenever they're posting anything about what is wrong with Liverpool, what Arne Slot should do, what players should do, what players should be benched, what players should be played, what should be the tactics. I'm in awe of the amount of football managers that exist in this world because I don't think I can listen. I've never played I was never a football player. Okay, I played basketball. Okay, and I was a good basketball player. That is something I can hang my hat on and I can say very confidently I was a good basketball player. And So when I used to watch my NBA team play, um there were some games we win, there are some games we don't win. And so w- whenever I watch my team play and let's say we've lost, for me it is something as simple as just like, okay, it happens, it happens. I'm not bashing the coach, not bashing the players. I don't have this thing in my head that I would have made that shot or like I would have shot better because it's part of the game. When you are playing any sport like that, where you working with a team, you have to pass and create an opportunity to score. Those are split second decisions. So yes, when I have played basketball, I've had to make those decisions. Of course, I have had to, and not all of them have been correct. Not all of them have been wrong. Some of them have been utterly magical moments. Some of them have been good enough to get us a win. And I have played nowhere close to the levels of an NBA match. Okay, I'm not. It was usually just like what college games. So yeah, it's this understanding that you know you're not going to win every single game. And but the way football fans, and it might be true for, listen, it might be true for basketball fans as well, because like I was not as involved in the basketball discourse online. And I, in general, what I always try to do is I try to find people whose content is positive. And with football, mostly I have tried to do that, but I also think that I was lulled into this false sense of like, oh, this is a good positive way of looking things, like the way these people see it. Because I don't think last season we were ever under threat. Arsenal was not having a good season, Manchester City was not having a good season, Chelsea was not having a good season. And so we didn't have a consistent title challenger. So I think that even when we were drawing, because like we barely lost last season, we lost to Nottingham Forest at home, and then the next game we lost was Fulham away at Craven Cottage, right? There were draws in between, but those are the two games. And between that, we had like a run of unbeaten run of like what, 20, 25, 26 games. So Yeah, I guess there was like just this false sense of security. So because of the way season went last year, even when we were drawing games, it wasn't like a big threat per se. And so I got I got lulled into this false sense of security that, oh, Liverpool content creators are so good. That the communities that I've found are so good. They're positive. They do criticize, but they express themselves in a way that is genuinely a genuine critique, and it also takes into consideration the fact that, well, if we can see it, the players can see it too, the manager can see it too, and with this assumption that yes, for them as well, these standards are not good and we need to do better. There was always this understanding in the way opinions were expressed, and I was like, this is great. This is great because this is what I think discourse about any sport should be, because we don't know. Not all of us have played for as big a Premier League club as Liverpool. We don't know. Not all of us have managed a big Premier League club like Liverpool. So yes, of course. But these last 5-6 games, in a way, I'm glad that I got to see this, because I feel like the more and more and more I got invested in these communities, and if it happened like later, it would have affected me more, because it has affected me a lot. I would much rather be a Liverpool fan privately than I would have to engage in these communities and like just have these things affect me mentally. I'm very new to football fandom, and yeah, man, it is I can't. So people who are calling for Arne Slot to be fired, people who are taking that Klopp interview way out of context, and oh, Indy Kela tweeting about like Klopp could be uh poised for a sensational return to Liverpool. Like it's insane to me, because people just forget, or maybe it's recency bias, right? Because without knowing what is going to happen, if FSG last year were like, we are not going to renew Virgil van Dijk and Mohamed Salah, Liverpool fans would have rioted. They would have. I know it because I was in these communities where every single person was angry, frustrated. Oh, they're lowballing them. They're so important to us. Like, we need to, what do you say? We need to retain these two. We need our spine. We need, all of that was happening. It was happening. And I myself did make reels about it. So, yes. Does that mean as of right now, I don't support Mohamed Salah? I think he should be benched. No. Do I think his form is concerning? Yes. And I will get to, okay, so I have done something and we'll get to it. So I have like what I think should be the solution for Liverpool. I've done that. But like right now I need to rant a little bit because it's in my head. Uh yeah, it's insane to me the way our own fans are talking about it. And whenever I have posted about it, so like when I talk about posting, I'm talking about Blue Sky. I am only on Blue Sky. I post there, and all video content is either on Instagram or it's on YouTube. But whenever I have posted anything about the way fans are talking about our players or our managers, I always hear people saying that, oh, it's a vocal minority. Real Liverpool fans don't do that. Real fans don't do that. Most of us don't think like this. That's good. But my problem is this: when the minority that is vocal, and so crudely vocal, is the only voice that you are going to hear, it is going to start feeling like it is the opinion of the majority, because you're not hearing anything contrarian. You would start feeling that this is the opinion of majority of the fans, because there is nothing that contrasts to what is being spoken of. And this is why I think this line between what is criticism and what is hate or abuse or vitriol or just unnecessary, I all of that is it is such a thin line that I feel like all of us as football fans, this is not Liverpool specific, all of us need to be a little bit more considerate in the way we choose our words, because this is how I see it. Okay, we are a very small channel. Our videos are not reaching Liverpool players or Liverpool managers, but there are bigger channels, and the way they talk about our players, the way they react when anything happens, when they're doing their match live watch alongs and things like that. We don't know how our players and managers engage on social media. We don't know what they are seeing. And that is why this thing of like, oh, it's a vocal minority, it's like we need to do. Why is this normalized is what I don't understand. Like, time and time again, I feel like I start to feel like I'm an alien, because I'm like, how is this something that I can understand, but like majority of people don't understand? And I'll be called like, oh, snowflake, you're too sensitive, and this is what football is, and this, that, blah, blah, blah. But like, no, why? Why do you want to make it a toxic place? How can it be helpful to you when you are doing a stream or a video day in, day out, every single day? Okay, so some of these content creators are going to go online and stream every single day, and they are always like, things are bad, this is bad, this is bad. Like, you just constantly, so like every single day for 2 3 hours, all you're doing is talking about things so negatively. How can it be good in any way, shape, or form? How can it be good for your physical health, for your mental health? How can it be good? And then you are letting all of that anger and frustration out into the world, and you don't know who is seeing it. Could be our manager, could be our players, could be, when you post a little fucking reel out of it, or make it into a clip, and then you put in the hashtags and everything. And what if these things reach our players and it affects them even more? Like, I become a different person when I know that the camera is on me and it is going to be on the internet. Not in the way of being disingenuous, just in the way of being like, we need to be a little bit considerate in what we are sending out on the internet. I really believe that. Just, kindness never hurts. But that's not how it works in football. And I mean, I guess good for you guys. If this is how it is supposed to be, I have to find different ways to engage in this community. I have to maybe find that small percentage of people who think like me, or maybe I just am going to be a Liverpool fan privately. We are still going to do episodes, most likely we are still going to do episodes and everything, but like, my all loud and proud Liverpool everything is going to be expressed to my friends, either offline or to my husband, and that is okay too. But because for me, sports has always been about community. When i um when i was uh, whenever I went to a new city, and I would attend events that had, like, some community meetups where people from all over are going to, like, sports for me has always been the easiest way to start a conversation, to forge friendships. And so, like, that is how I view sports, and that has been the case all my life. And it is the one thing that I feel like, rather than you asking intrusive questions about you, because you don't know what somebody else considers personal, you don't know what somebody else is comfortable sharing, even if you ask a question. So I feel like sports for me personally has always been the easiest place to kind of start interacting with people. And more often than not, people in some way, shape, or form are always going to make it known with like some accessories or jerseys or whatever it is. So I have to kind of shift my understanding of, maybe it's the difference between online versus offline community, but to an extent, I don't see the problem in why we can't make online communities a little bit more wholesome as well. So now we'll come to Liverpool. Okay, this is just in general my opinion about um just football culture, the way that I have seen it. And I guess, like, a little bit of hypocrisy on my side is that I would say that last year I would watch some of rival fan content creators, and I would take glee in the fact that, oh, and it was particularly like Manchester United and Arsenal fan channels, some of them where I used to go and kind of take take pleasure from their suffering. And maybe that was, I think that was wrong on my part, because again, if I am a passionate Liverpool fan, they are passionate fans of their clubs also. And I mean, some of them were being hateful, but some of them were just genuinely just disappointed and everything. But we would, it was more like, part of it was like taking taking some form of happiness from that, and part of it was also that, when we were making our episodes, it's to understand what they are saying, because like, I cannot follow every single club as closely as I follow Liverpool, and I don't wish to do that for rival clubs, for any other club. Like, Liverpool is the chosen one for me, so I can't do that. So some of it was for that, so that we have talking points and we understand what Arsenal fans by themselves are saying, and some of it was for our own selfish reasons. And I mean, I've stopped all of that. So yeah, let's come to Liverpool. Okay, now, yes, we are in a bad situation, but I don't think that it's the end of the world. The way everybody has turned on Arne Slot, and you're calling last season as, oh, he was just lucky because everybody fell off. Are you then accepting that if Arsenal were to win this league, it is because they are lucky that Liverpool and City fell off this year? It could be, right? It's the same thing, right? Should be the same thing. I don't know. So I was thinking, why? Why this visceral reaction? And I feel like I do have some semblance of, not semblance, I would say I have a little bit of an idea. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like it's because the team Arne Slot broke was a Premier League winning side. Okay, the team that we had just won a title, and it was kind of Klopp's last legacy for us. This team that he left us, last year when we were talking about the way Liverpool were playing, and it was like, oh, Arne Slot got handed a very good squad, Klopp left a very good team, blah blah blah, all of that. Yes, factually correct, right? So it's because of that. It's because before Arne Slot, we have a manager with whom we have had success. It's a larger than life manager. If I have to give an example of, like, it's like when Sir Alex Ferguson left Manchester United, 20 years, 13 titles. Like, of course, Klopp was not that successful with us, but like, it's a different. There was a lot of emotion there because when Klopp took over the team, we were not just in a crisis in terms of our results. It was with the club's connection with the fans, and getting everybody involved. It was about the community. So he did not just build us the team, he also kind of reinvigorated that passion towards Liverpool from the fans. And the last thing kind of that we have is this team. This team from which now a bunch of players have left. Some on their own, some tragically, some that we might have mixed feelings about whether they should have been let go or not. And Yeah, that's what, because I feel like most Liverpool fans who are angry and frustrated right now think that just because most Liverpool fans, I feel like, think that unless and until this team that Arne Slot has assembled is going to outperform and be better than the team of last year or the team Klopp left us, then it's the wrong call. It's the wrong call. It's as simple as that. Because what we had was a winning side. But if we as Liverpool fans were discussing towards the end of last season whether or not we needed anybody, we did. We did. I think it was a consensus. The entire season we were talking about how we need a new left back because Andy Robertson is age is catching up with him, right? It was There were so many kind of positions that we were like, we need new players. And because the team that has been broken down and now this new team which is having problems, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that there are not problems in this team, and I do have a solution, or something resembling a solution. So I feel like, yes. So that is why I feel that is why I feel unless and until the new team is better than the old one, then every single person or every single decision that has been made is wrong. Those are the feelings that I get, because we are all attacking our new options. Okay, Isaac is not pressing, Words is not look, blah blah whatever. Like, he's not up for the Premier League. Kirkes is not doing well. Like, there's a lot of hate towards our manager, towards our old guard, our spine, and there's a lot of hate towards our new signings as well. Now, I just want to ask everybody a question. When we got Dominic Zoboslai in 23-24, and you watched him play in 23-24, did you think that he was a good signing? He looked decent in that season. But was he the player that he is now for us in that season? He wasn't. It's almost like players need time. So that is the point I'm trying to make. Improvements are possible. Sometimes it is going to take time. This team has had a lot of change. This team has had an unprecedented loss that they are playing through. Okay? I know it will seem like it's a cop out, and I've seen this because everybody is like, "Oh, it wasn't a problem. Like, Jota was not a problem when Liverpool were winning. It was. It was. Literally, Mohamed Salah cried and after the Bournemouth game and said later that he did not expect that would happen. He did not expect the emotions would come out like that. He did not expect it. This is what I'm saying. I'm not using Jota's tragic death as an excuse. I'm just saying that it is not the worst thing in the world if this season is a write off. The world is not going to end because Liverpool does not win a major trophy. There are other things happening in the world that can potentially trigger the end, but it won't be Liverpool not winning. So we need to calm down a little bit. It's a team that needs time to gel. It's a team that needs to understand that they have to change their way of playing. It's a team where individual players have to understand and change their way of playing. It's a team where new players have to understand that they have to play a different way as opposed to however they were playing wherever they played last. All of those things are going to take time, and it is okay. It is okay. I don't know, like this thing of like, oh, we're not playing beautiful football, we're not. I know, I get it. I get frustrated too. But at the end of the day, for me, it's the exact same thing. I'm like, it's because we need to gel. It's because we need to understand with this kind of team what tactics are good. And people have jumped on, like Arne Slot in his press conferences when he said, and I think in the Brentford press conference, everybody's taking it out of what do you say? Out of context, or like just this is what I don't like the meme culture also, but like it is turning into a bit of this thing of like they're saying that he's avoiding accountability, and like the man has literally said that teams are playing in a way against us that we don't have an answer for. He's acknowledging that we don't have an answer for it now. He's taking account. That is taking accountability. He is accepting that teams, our opponents as of right now, have a way of playing against us for which we don't have an answer. He's accepting that. That is acknowledgement. That is accountability. And yeah, there is a chance that this is a season of trial and error. This is a season of understanding how this team is going to work well together. It could be, and it's okay. It's okay. This is what I'm saying. It's not the end of the world. Just because we have spent so much money, this thing of like, oh, but Liverpool spent so much money. Yeah, and that team needs to gel. Like in Klopp's last season, all that was new was the midfield. Our defense was the same, our attack was the same. What we got was the new midfield. We got the full midfielder. We got Gravenberch, we got McAllister, we got Szoboszlai, we got Endo. Mostly it was them, right? So yes, everything else was now it is all different. It is all different. Alisson is injured, and we don't have Queeve in the goal. Now it is Mamardashvili. We have two new fullbacks. We have Florian Wirtz, who needs to be incorporated in the midfield. We have two new strikers. So like it's not the end of the world. I don't know. I mean, I literally sometimes it makes me wanna cry, and I have cried. Literally, I have cried. I think was it after it could have been before was after the Brentford game. I literally cried because I was like, I I can't deal with this negativity. These players have shown us that these are not the standards. If these were the standards, we wouldn't have won a title last year. These players have shown us that they know and they accept that these performances are not good enough. This manager has shown that he accepts that this is not good enough. He said in his press conference, I knew the season was going to be a little bit difficult, but I myself did not expect that it was going to be 4 losses in a row. This is not what I accepted. He knows and he has accepted that these standards are not good enough. What baffles me is that after all of this, our fans don't want to give the grace to the players, to the manager, that they have accepted it and they are working towards improving. Now, however long it takes, and we are an impatient bunch, it might take longer than we are okay to admit, but it is what it is. So yeah, please keep that in mind. Okay, I understand you're allowed to have an opinion. Do it with a little bit of grace, a little bit of humility, a little bit of understanding that they are professionals. They've done it for a long, long time. They've studied it. Managers have to have a, and I'm not saying every single manager that does that fucking course is going to be a good manager, but again, they study it. They study it. Okay. Um, you know, this this picture that you see, this is what fans are. This is what your fans are. You are at the peak of ignorance. I'm sorry. But the people who are in charge of appointing our manager, the person who is our manager, the people who are playing for us, they are experts. They are. They are. Please, for the love of God, have some grace, have some humility, have an understanding and acknowledgement of the fact that you don't know everything. And please be a little bit more responsible with the way you express yourselves on social media. I knew this season was going to be difficult well before we even started anything. And it was right after um, Jota's death and the heartfelt tributes and everything that were coming. And it was Salah's tribute when Salah said in his tribute that I never thought I would ever be afraid of coming back to Liverpool. Like, that to me was already indicative of a difficult season for for our own player to say that it would be difficult to come, like he would be actually scared of coming to a place that he calls home. And yeah, it's like, oh, it was figurative, this, that, blah, blah, blah. It's emotions, it's grief, and it's, if you're lucky that you have to imagine what it is like to lose a friend, a colleague, consider yourself lucky. But then at the same time, afford grace to people, because if you've never had to deal with grief, count your stars. Not everybody is lucky. And some of us can know from experience that it is difficult. So just please, 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 for the love of God, let's try and be a little bit more positive. Let's make everything with the assumption that our players, our managers are going to see this. Like, and if you would you say it to them, to their face, if you were to meet them in person? If not, then backspace. Don't post it. It's okay. Not everything that goes in our mind needs to be heard anyways, especially if it is going to be something cruel. I hope it makes sense. It's okay if you don't like this. It's okay if you don't want to, if you don't respect my views. And if you want to let me know in the comments, yeah, sure, please go ahead and do it. But yeah, I'm sad to lose my community. I am also sad that these people that I interacted with, I did grow to start liking them. I was starting to have fun, and it's I know it's a parasocial relationship. I've not met any of them, and everything has been just on social media. For all I know, I could just be talking to bots, if you believe in, the dead internet theory. But I know for a fact that it's not. I know that these are real people, good people, and yeah, I've lost them. I don't know. I can't really be around people who are going to be that negative. I can't. For me, it's like, and it's mostly like, it's like some who will spoil it for the others. But yeah, I might just block some of them to kind of have at least my blue sky community. The YouTube and Instagram I've lost. I cannot do it. But maybe blue sky, there is a way for me to save that. We cannot predict the future, but I feel like we can learn from the past. And I feel like giving a year for this team to gel well together, it's not the end of the world. So this is why I'm scared. I don't think that Liverpool have ever been a team or a club that is going to be that rash. But the way the fans are calling for Slot's head has me scared, if that is going to create kind of like a pressure on the club. So that is all I want to say. And now we will move to the solution that I have. So this is what I've done. I have made a presentation. Now, I'm not trying to rip off Alice. Alice is an amazing content creator, has a lot more knowledge than me. I'm not trying to copy her. But the way I wanted to like approach this, I thought a presentation was the best way to do it. So here I am. I'm not trying to like, copy Alice. Okay. So this is what we have. This is my attempt to kind of, be a little more. I don't know what this is, and you can tell me your feedback in the comments. Yeah, we'll just get into it. All right. So let's say all those intrusive thoughts out. Okay. See, there's a lot of talent on paper. There's a lot of talent in this squad, but if this form continues, we might not win any trophies. Okay. Thought number one. Thought number two. Maybe this is Arsenal's year. Maybe they win. Thought number three. Mostly it's like a hope. For me personally, it's a hope that maybe this is a Leicester season. Okay, maybe CBC a new Premier League champion. I don't know. It's a hope. Okay, I have said it out loud, and it's okay. I am just accepting it that there is a chance that we don't win the league this year and Arsenal do. It's okay. I've said it. Now, this is something that scares me. Uh, you know, um, not because I don't love Klopp, not because I think that Arne is not capable of doing a good job, but because the, it's just there's a lot of emotion involved when it comes to Kloppo, and rightly so. Okay, um, so Indy Kela tweeted about a Klopp return if the results don't change, and I think a lot of fans would be more than happy for the former boss to come back. I personally don't think Klopp wants to come back. Okay, I feel like I know it is coming after that interview, but I feel like what Klopp meant, I've not watched the interview, but I think what Klopp meant and what he has always said is that if he were to manage a team in the Premier League, it will always be Liverpool. He is not going to go to another English club. I feel like Klopp is looking he's looking good. He's enjoying his life, and he ran out of energy. He was not like, it's okay. It's okay. I feel like we are being too rash. If this is a genuine thing, we are being too rash and too Manchester United after Sir Alex Ferguson in our treatment of our manager. Okay. We also don't want to get this reputation of like like how much Manchester United managers have struggled. Like let's not do those things. Okay. Um now, I scoured the comment sections of all socials and posts and tweets to understand what the fans are saying about what our problems are. Since obviously everyone knows football better than what professionals can do, listen, I know I said I won't gatekeep, but I won't refrain from throwing shade on people. Okay. So most of what our fans are saying are are, are these problems. Okay. And some of this is being discussed and said in a very bad way, but it is what it is. Okay. Cool. So now, what do we do moving forward? Now, I will be the first to acknowledge that I don't know a lot about tactics, positions, players, jargon, words, all that jazz that comes with being a football fan. Okay. I will do what I do best, which is finding solutions to problems, list, Excel sheets, presentations. That is what I do. And I love doing it. So I remember this thing that we used to that we used to use to like solve problems when I worked in the manufacturing industry. It's called the Pareto principle, okay? Also known as the 80-20 rule. So like what it means is 20% of causes solved are going to give you 80% of the outcomes or solutions to your problems. So I thought let's do that. Let's do that for Liverpool, okay? So now, when I look at all the problems that we are having in this list, I'm going to discount everything that. Okay, my cat is puking. So in this, I'm going to discount everything that is like an opinion, okay, which I think is most of the points. I would say the top 4 points are actual problems. I would consider everything under that are like just opinions, okay. So these are like what 10 points. So we're going to focus on two of them, which is the top two, okay. And hopefully if we address these 20% causes, we are going to get 80% of the outcomes. So I'm going to focus on the first 2 points now. Let's get to it. So how do we concede less goals? The problems according to Slot are long balls. Okay, so the solution to me is simple. Don't let your center backs come all the way ahead. For the time being, let them be behind. The offside trap is not working, and it is absolutely useless if all of them are in our attacking half anyway, because like the opponent player cannot be cannot be offside on their own half, right? So don't let them come all the way forward. So if Virgil and Ibu don't come too far out, they can stop whatever counter attacks and wait for the midfield to fall back while not being in crisis. Okay. For the full backs, over on the right side, okay, I think let them play on the wings. They don't need to move the ball through the middle. The Brentford first goal that we scored, that's what we need our fullbacks to do. Okay, make overlapping runs with your winger, cut the ball back for someone to tap in, and that's it. Simple. For the left side, there are two different ways of playing depending on who the left back is. Now, if Robertson plays, then the defensive midfielder needs to stay back, like I've shown in the right hand side image. So Curtis or Gravenberch, whoever it is, they need to be deeper and support the center backs in stopping counter attacks. Okay, we will have three players this way, and we don't need to spend Robertson's energy to make those runs up and down because he doesn't have the same legs anymore, right? And if Kirkes is playing, he has to do the same thing that the right fullback is doing. Do not move the ball through the middle. Overlapping runs with your winger, cut the ball back, and all that jazz. Like, just simple enough. Okay, we are not going to be in a situation where everyone is trying to run and catch up with counter attacks or like a long ball that is being played. Okay, we will be in a much better position. So it's just the simplest thing. We don't need to be in a panic mode to stop the opponent from scoring goals. Simple enough. I feel like it's good enough. Okay. Now let's get to the next part. How do we score more goals? I think we can all agree that Liverpool have enough attacking power in their squad to be able to score enough goals to win a game. And a lot of it is not being realized in the games that we are playing. And when we played against Frankfurt in a 4-4-2 or like a 3-5-2, I think we looked the best. So keeping that in mind, I think for me, and like given the fact that Isak is injured right now, for me the obvious solution, or I would say maybe an experiment, is play Salah through the middle. Um, Play Ekitike and Salah as strikers. Let's be honest, okay? He hasn't been playing best on the wing, but we are not rewriting history, okay? He's a clinical finisher. So take that pressure off him to be creative, to be beating a defender, because it's not working. Let others create for him, and he will finish those chances. And of course, you'll have Chiesa and Rio to come on as subs. And as we make changes, players can be moved. So if Bradley's taken off and Zoboslai moves to right back, then we can have Words playing through the middle and Chiesa on the right wing, or McAllister takes Zoboslai's place. Like all of those things, like the basic structure, I think, of what the defense and the attack has to do, I think should be this. Now, what happens when Isak comes back? That remains to be seen, okay? And might be close to AFCON being there, so Salah will be off to play there. And also, who knows? Like, if maybe if Salah gets some of those goals and everything, maybe Salah gets his mojo back by the time this experiment is conducted, okay? And he's back to some sort of form, playing on the right wing as well. So this is the last slide, okay? Wasn't a long presentation because I know my corporate lessons. Now, of course, this might be simplifying it a bit too much. I understand that, okay? But I really think sometimes overthinking can lead to overcomplicating simple solutions. Maybe this is not feasible, but in my mind, this is the best short-term solution. If you watched a medical procedural and some crazy trauma comes to the ER, and the doctors are going to try and going to triage and like stabilize the patient and take care of like immediate problems before they take them for like more scans and stuff. So like that is what I'm doing here. Immediately, this is what two things we have to do: not concede goals and score more goals. That is all I have tried to do here. And see, listen, I don't think Arne is going to see this. I doubt he's getting his tactics from YouTube or something, okay? But I feel like this is what could work for us for the time being before we inevitably gel together and get everything in order and go back to being the team that we all know and love, okay? Yes, this is for me the solution. See, Jurgen left us a great squad, and Slot won us the league with it. Our new manager bounce was a Premier League title. And I know it seems like everything is unraveling right now, but let's take some deep breaths. A rebuild year is always going to have its ups and downs, and it has literally been this way for every single manager. If trying to figure it out this season means that we can go on to dominate the next couple of years, I would gladly write the season off, but we don't know the future. All we can do is learn from the past. And I don't think snap judgments, snap sackings have ever produced great results for any team. And it's not anything different for Liverpool. That is all I have to say. Thank you.